Now let's get some analysis. Let's talk to Carlos de Sousa. He's a senior economist for Oxford Economics, and he joins us now live from Zurich in Switzerland. Good to speak to you, Carlos. Now tell us, how long before the military and those who are loyal to Maduro start to feel the pinch from these latest round of sanctions?
It will not be very long. If you think that Venezuela exports around 55% of its oil production to the United States, and the government receives about 75% of its income from these exports to the United States. And we don't think they will be able to redirect most of these exports from the U.S. to China and India. There are quite many problems with redirecting those flows of oil, which I can explain later. So they will buy pretty soon. It's also about the fact that Venezuela has very low international reserves at the moment. So it is not in a position at which it can just withstand these sanctions. So I would say in a few weeks, we should already see a lot more scarcity of goods in Venezuela. And it will be a lot more difficult for the government to continue buying the loyalty of the military if it doesn't have a constant flow of foreign currency.
Absolutely, that's the point that I was wondering about, having their loyalty if they're not getting paid, essentially. Now, I just want to ask you about the U.S. and more than 20 other countries recognizing opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president. That number's growing day by day, but practically, how does that change anything if Guaido doesn't have military backing?
Well, he does need the military backing, indeed. Without that, he will not have power within the country, but he has already demonstrated that he has a lot of power in foreign policy. I mean, the sanctions from the United States are evidently a coordinated move between Guaido and the Venezuelan opposition and the U.S. government. So I would not underestimate the power that Guaido has right now with the support of the United States. But indeed, he either needs the Venezuelan military to flip and to betray Maduro and remove him, because it is, I don't think Maduro will simply resign. This is something that I think extremely unlikely.
Okay, and let's talk about the ultimatum. What happens next if elections are not called within 8 days, as European leaders had demanded?
Well, if by Sunday, I believe, that Maduro doesn't call elections, then the European Union will also recognize Guaido as the president. In my view, that doesn't change much because it is the U.S. that is really calling the shots here. I think the U.S. will just wait until these sanctions take effect. I think in 1 or 2 months, the effects will be felt very deeply into the population. We estimate that if these sanctions are maintained for, say, 1 year, the Venezuelan GDP could fall between 30 or 40%. And, I think the only parallels that we could draw from history, from recent history at least, is when the UN imposed very similar sanctions, although they were harsher, on Libya to get rid of Colonel Gaddafi. And in 2011, when that happened, the Libyan economy shrank by 61%. They did get rid of Gaddafi successfully, but that took quite a lot of violence, as we know. And the Libyan economy recovered really quickly in 2012. It expanded 125%. So it was like a switch on, switch off. So I think we just have to hope that what is happening right now is resolved quickly in Venezuela, because the faster it is resolved, then it will be less suffering for the Venezuelan people.
Absolutely.
If it's dragged out for a year or for longer, I think the chance of success of removing Maduro will be lower if it takes longer, and it will be worse for the people.
Okay. Carlos, thank you very much indeed for your analysis. That was Carlos de Sousa, a senior economist for Oxford Economics.